This podcast will probably contain some strong language and adult content. Hopefully, you're as into that as we are. FPL. What is happening, all you sexy managers? We are firing blanks, the only podcast where we can really feel the disdain that the hosts have for each other's teams. Speaking of other hosts, James is here with us as usual.
Hello.
James, how are your swimmers? Firing blanks or swimming swimmingly?
Happy New Year. My swimmers are swimming.
Good.
I had
That's
a good
good.
game week last game week.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Tell
for the
us
first
more.
time in a long time, man. I can't
Tell
help
us
but
more.
feel as though the Hootenanny might have contributed to me having a good game week.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, I bought in Cresswell.
Yes, I seen the tweet. Very hilarious.
Yeah. And he scored 11 points. Got an assist.
It was a good transfer.
Clean sheet, 2 bonus. So that was good. Captain scored. I had Kane. Didn't have Son, which pissed me off a little bit, but he's a great player, so I can't be too bitter about the fact that he punished me for not owning him.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, good times. Grealish returns. Maddison scored. Happy days. Very happy. Very happy to have a green arrow. Takes me away from Ben Dinnery, which is the main thing. That was my main target.
Shouldn't be as big of a struggle.
No,
as
I
it has
know. I
been.
never thought I'd be that happy at reaching 1.7 million, but alas.
First green arrow in since game week 11.
Yeah.
250,000 places. Your team value still rank rotten, but you have a decent team. A few injuries here and there.
Thanks, Dave. From you, that means a lot.
Well,
Smug bastard.
I also had a green arrow, to be fair.
Yeah.
Both of our swimmers swimmingly this week.
You had a good game week again. It's frustrating.
Another one.
It is frustrating.
Not as good as you. 71 points. I feel like we're doing this kind of fantasy weekly-ish, aren't we? We're going through our teams and we're being nice about it, and it feels very fantasy. I assume it's because we haven't done a fantasy weekly episode this week.
No.
And maybe this will be going out to the Fantasy Weekly people as a sort of like, if you're here from the Fantasy Weekly Twitter or something, because James has decided that this will do and has just retweeted this instead of actually doing a podcast.
It's a great idea.
Then it's a good idea. Then welcome. And
Who are we sponsored by, Dave?
Fantasy Weekly sponsored by footstock.com.
Firing Blanks is sponsored by FPL merch. So he only sponsored us for those 8 episodes, but I'm going to rep him until the end of the season.
That's a good idea. We should call him. I'm sure he's listening and he's been like, oh yeah, this'll do. This is the top quality content that I want.
I ordered a FPL merch mug over Christmas for my brother-in-law, personalised. Did it like 3 days before Christmas. Slid in the DMs on Twitter and was like, will it get there? And he was like, James, I'll make sure it gets there. And it did. Got there on Christmas Eve. Job done. Brilliant.
Really?
What a guy.
What you're saying is if you know the guy who runs the company, then no problems.
What I'm saying is that the customer service is tip-top, Dave, as was the mug.
Right, well, we'll definitely have to get in touch with him because he owes us money after that. Anyway, so this week, obviously after all the... Now, this is... What day is it? Thursday at 9 minutes past 8. Yeah, some of you have just finished clapping for the NHS. Others are awaiting trial after storming the US Capitol. But for us football managers, we have just found out that Aston Villa is potentially off. Southampton's FA Cup game's in doubt. We have no idea what's going on. And on top of that, this is the first season in ages where there is a plethora of chip strategies that you can be doing. And it's almost impossible to tell someone what chip strategy to do because it is so subjective, isn't it, James?
Yeah, I actually made this point last week, Dave, during the Hootenanny. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. I do remember.
I was saying, like, we all just need to back off a little bit and relax because no one knows what's going to happen. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Chip strategies are always subjective. They always pertain to the individual team. But I think you're absolutely right to say that never has there been a season in which that rule applies as clearly as it does at the moment. It is impossible to give a general advice to anyone, really. Luckily, we've got so few listeners that we can take each listener in turn and give them bespoke advice.
I should maybe rephrase it as to be, this is the first season where I haven't looked at the weeks and thought, yeah, this is obviously the chip strategy that works best logically. Yeah. Because there is quite a few of them. Just now, people are contemplating whether they should be free hitting, they should be wildcarding, or just try and get through the blanks with a couple of transfers, maybe a -4, -8. I haven't decided what I'm doing yet, but as every day we get closer to the game week, we get a different story from whoever saying that this club is not going to be playing, this club's unlikely to play, and it just makes me really glad that I haven't yet pulled the trigger on any of the decisions.
Yeah, I haven't either. But I am. Well, I did put together a free hit team, but I didn't press confirm. But I've toyed with it as it's quite fun to do that. I haven't confirmed anything though, so I haven't pulled the trigger either. I'm hoping that FPL HQ give us new and exciting chips, which and they do that before next game week, but I think that's incredibly unlikely. So I'm biding my time. Because there's no rush. I'm not too worried about value if it means. In a way, I almost like having my my hand forced by price rises and falls. It can sometimes work out in my favour. If I've got too much freedom, that's when I'm in trouble. So
you're a big overthinker.
I am a big overthinker. So being obliged to bring in a player A because he's cheaper than player B is sometimes a good thing for me. So I'm not too worried about the price rises and falls. I'd rather just wait until next Monday, I think, see what news we've got on the COVID front, and then make a decision. It's almost definitely going to be the case that I play my free hit because I have so few players. I've been orientating my transfers around the double game weeks, not this blank. So I have very few players going into game week 18. It's probably going to be a free hit for me. Fuck future James. How about you?
I think it's probably going to be a free hit as well, simply because of the exact same reason that you've said. I've built my team towards it. I had a look, though, obviously, with all the chip strategies in the air. I wanted to see how I could get through with each of the strategies. So I made a wildcard team or 2. I made a free hit team or 3. And I even had a look to see what a -4 or -8 could get me if it meant that I could go through the next couple of weeks without actually using any chips, just to save them. But with the news that Aston Villa versus Tottenham might not be going forward because of the Aston Villa training camp being shut down due to COVID, I have had a look and I have literally 2 players playing if that game doesn't go ahead. I've got Diaz and Bruno. I do also have Taylor, but I don't know if he's back, and he's also playing Bruno, so it's not the best
that'd be the same
caveat.
For me. That'd be the same for me. And Wilson.
So the problem, and Wilson God forbid we forget about Wilson. So yeah, I think that is out the window because I can't be putting all my eggs in those baskets, hoping that something happens, and I don't think a -8 is going to help me. I'll literally still only have 5 players playing. So it's going to be a wild card, a free hit. Having said that, though, the fact that Spurs might not be playing makes me think that a wild card might be a bit easier for me because I could take out my Spurs guys a week early and I wouldn't have to take that -4 I was planning on doing. And the fact that Man City and Man United have 2 fixtures or 2 game weeks really helps the wild card. And all it means is I'll miss having Salah this week and then bring him in for the double. So that's the only thing I can think of that this changes, is that the wild card seems a bit more friendly now. But I still will prefer the free hit.
Honestly, of all the fixtures that could have been postponed, that's actually one of the ones that's probably the one that I would have picked. And I'll tell you for why, Dave. It's because, firstly, I find it hard to predict who's going to win that game.
Yeah.
Usually the first thing you do when you're free hitting is you think, okay, where are the gimme fixtures? And you look at Man City versus Brighton and you think, okay, I'm going to triple up on Man City. That Villa versus Spurs game, I couldn't decide whether to go Grealish. Do I keep Martinez in? Do I go for Kane and Son? It's pretty challenging. Do I go for Spurs defence? It's a little bit hard. And the other reason is because when I own players and then I play my free hit, I get very superstitious about removing them. I worry about removing them because I think this will be the week that they bloody blow up as soon as I get rid of them for the free hit. And there's nothing worse than owning a player, getting rid of him for the free hit week, and he returns massively. So with Kane and Son, I mean, I don't own Son, but, with Kane, Grealish, Martinez, my concern would be, okay, if I do get rid of them during the blank game week, free hit them out, and then they both return, it's going to be extra painful.
I see what you're saying. So the fact that game might not even take place just eliminates
removes the stress a little bit.
Those issues right out, and you don't have to think about it, and you can take them all out for 1 week,
guilt-free,
and have fun with your
yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, for me, it means that Son and Kane were one of my transfers out for game week 19. I was taking them out. I'm bringing Salah and I'm bringing Vardy in for the doubles, and that was how I was going to roll going forward. Even keeping 1.8 million in the bank to do it, which is what I'll need. So the fact that game might not be going ahead means that transfer now is kind of a bit of a waste. I don't really need to have kept Son and Kane this long. Do you know what I mean? So it feels a bit dumb to continue along that track when I've got a wild card sitting there, when I could take them both out earlier and maybe transfer in Vardy and sit him on my bench or something, and then transfer Salah in later. And it means that I can save that -4 or -8 that it was going to cost me, and hook myself up with a brand new set of players, because I've still got Steer in there, which is causing me to humongous grief.
Okay.
I know you don't rate Aston Villa that much.
I mean, to be fair, they're still doing pretty well.
Not being able to have 3 of them is annoying.
Yeah.
Like not even being able to double up in the defense or anything, or get Watkins just for my first bench or something like that.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then on top of that, I also have got Douglas, the 3.8 million defender, the cheapest person that we have in the game. But he's a Leeds player, so he's ruining my 3 Leeds if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? So this wildcard could fix these problems. I could even get someone on the bench, keeper-wise, to going forward just for the blanks and the double game week. You know what I mean? I could even, with the wildcard, set up a bench boost and go from there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many things that I could do now.
I mean, I respect the fact that you're paying lip service to this idea of the wildcard as being an alternative. And, it's not just a case of it's got to be the free hit for everyone. But in your instance, Dave, are you just playing devil's advocate here? Surely you are going to play your free hit.
I've been serious about it.
But you prefer the free hit option, right?
Serious. I do prefer the free hit option. There's pros and cons to both options, but the pros and cons for me will be different for you. Do you know what I mean? So I thought actually it would be a much better idea for us to just go through the top teams, say the top 6 teams, and just say who we really like as an asset, and whether they would be someone we would take on a free hit, someone we'd take on a wild card, and just go through them so that no matter what option people who are listening are going to be doing, we can at least give them a couple of players to think about.
I like it.
What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
FPL. All right, so who should we start
Sergio
with? Alphabetical? Okay. All right, Tottenham. Let's start with Tottenham then. So Tottenham have a single game week in game week 19. So I'm assuming that anything we talk about in regards to Tottenham is really just for this blank game week 18. Or would you consider keeping them for the doubles?
Yeah, I think you've got to consider keeping them for the doubles. Whilst there is always this compulsion to make sure that you've got we all know how beautiful it looks when you've got a team of 11 players and have all got the 2 fixtures underneath their names. But there is value in keeping those consistent week in, week out players who are not only likely to return, but in Kane and Son's case, likely to return in tandem. If they do return, if one returns, it's likely that the other one returns as well. So I think, it's very feasible. We only need to look at last week to see that leaving them out of your side for the double game week could be a 24 point loss. You know, if they both score an assist, which we've seen them do plenty of times this season, you could find yourself in a real deficit. So whilst, I say this, I probably will get rid of Kane for that. I've only got Kane. I don't have Kane and Son. I think if I had them both, I probably wouldn't be looking to get rid of them both. So
I agree on that. I definitely agree on that, because having both of them, it's a guaranteed green arrow if they bang, and a guaranteed red arrow if they don't. So you know where your chips are. But if you have one of them, then you're kind of hoping the other one doesn't bang, although that one is probably very likely to help your own player bang. And then it's a case of, well, am I still getting a green arrow or what? So I think absolutely it's double or nothing, which makes your decision a lot easier and mine a lot harder.
No, I was saying if I had two, I'd probably only get rid of one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, then I disagree. I strongly disagree.
I just think to take a -4 to get rid of Kane and Son is effectively saying, not only do I think these guys aren't going to return, because let's face it, if you take a -4 and they return, it's very unlikely the player you bring in is going to outscore them to the tune
true.
of their return plus 4 points. So what you're effectively saying is...
Potentially. Well, it's a double though, mate.
I believe, yeah, for sure. But in this age of COVID, how many players are there? Let's look at Son as an example. How many players are there? How many midfielders are there that you don't own already? You know, we can rule out the likes of Salah, who everyone owns, Bruno, who the vast majority of people own. How many players are there where you think, okay, over 2 fixtures, this guy is not only going to outscore Son's 1 fixture, but he's going to do it by 4 extra points? I think it's very hard to guarantee. I mean, there are no guarantees, but I think it's very hard to that's a very hard wager. I don't like it.
I guess right there we found a caveat to your thing, was that, you just said everyone has these players, so let's take them out of the equation. But I guess what you're saying is, if you're bringing one of them in, a Bruno, a KDB, a Salah, for this double instead of Son, and you're getting rid of Kane for, let's say, Aguero, maybe if you're punting on him, or Vardy, or Martial even. He's kind of up there in price. Or Lacazette, who's scored 4 times in 3 games. Would you like that transfer then? If you're bringing... For me, for example, I don't have Salah for the doubles based on my plans right now.
Interesting.
So I'm going to be bringing in Salah and Vardy for Kane and Son. That was the plan.
I think the majority of the names that you just listed there, I don't like. I think Salah, yes. I think that's worthwhile because of his ownership. I think the likes of Lacazette's going to be very popular during the blank when people are free hitting. I don't think many people are going to have him in their squads come game week 19. However.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was on game week 18.
Yeah.
Sorry, just Vardy then, or Martial.
Yeah, Vardy. Martial. I don't think he's going to be popular. I would never take a -4 to get rid of Kane and bring in Martial. Let's not forget, Martial. Okay, he's had a relatively decent run of recent fixtures, but in the grand scheme of things, it would be laughable 4 game weeks ago to imagine taking out Kane for a -4, despite his 1 game week, to bring in Anthony Martial, who's got 2 against, fairly defensively robust teams. I don't like that idea at all. I mean, it's obviously all subjective, like we said, but I just think, don't be so desperate to have a full team of double players that you would sacrifice perfectly consistent single game week players. I think that's a general principle that I'm always burned for when I do it myself, and I'm trying not to do it.
Something you're trying to stick to. Fair play. Spurs play Liverpool game week 20, and then Brighton away, Chelsea at home, West Brom home, Man City away, and then so on and so forth. Not the best short-term run. Well, I think you probably won't be burned by getting rid of them, but then obviously, as we've seen in the past, they can do damage against anyone. Exactly.
And in terms of ownership, it could be incredibly punishing for you if you do get rid of them and they continue their form.
Are you considering anyone else?
Sergio
from their attack. From their attack.
Sergio No, not at all.
No.
No.
What about their defence then?
I mean, defence is tempting, isn't it? Certainly for this blank game week. Yeah, I think most people have probably at least toyed with a free hit draft that includes the likes of Eric Dyer or Alderweireld scored last game week. He could be an option.
If it was anyone other than Aston Villa, you know what I mean? Or like if they were playing Brighton, I'd be Dyer in there instead of Stones. But Aston Villa score against everyone.
You know,
it's so difficult.
I genuinely think with Matt Doherty's red card that Serge Aurier is a relatively decent option here for this blank game week.
I forgot that Doherty had a red card. I was just ignoring Serge Aurier as a pick, but you're absolutely right. He is going to play.
I might do it just for the old
You
times.
should. I'll bring in El Neni. You bring in
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, as you say, the fact that Matt Doherty is red carded opens the door for Aurier, and he has actually been. I mean, jokes aside, he has actually been entertaining at least.
I can't believe you got us to talk about him. Serge Aurier, 5.2 million. Oh, he's 0.2 million off fucking Tierney, mate. It's never happening.
Yeah,
it's never happening.
You're going for Tierney, are you?
I mean, I would over Aurier for sure, but Tierney is probably going to make way for Cancelo, which I don't know if you
Why not have them all,
game.
Dave?
You can't have them all. I wish you could.
You can have those.
Did you watch? Cancelo was in the box quite a lot.
Yes.
He was one of the main attackers. He just did not do any sort of kind of natural fullback defending. He just stayed attacking the whole game. It was crazy he didn't get a goal or an assist.
I did see Mark's tweet where he said something like, I'm getting in double City attack, Diaz, Cancelo and KDB.
Yeah.
As though implying
he was
that,
very attacking.
Yeah.
And also, the whole COVID thing, I mean, we'll talk about it more when we get to Man City, but the whole COVID thing makes me not want to get two attacking midfielders from City because it's so much money in one basket. And if, City miss out on their game for whatever reason, then I've left, if say you've got Sterling, KDB and Stones, for example, which is a fairly safe pick for a free hit, right, against Brighton. That could get cancelled, and then that's 30 million of your budget gone.
Preach.
Just gone. So
Preach.
I really don't like that as an option. I think KDB's fine, and then maybe two of their defenders. That's 20 million. That's already a third part better than the previous suggestion. So yeah. But anyway, Tottenham. Serge Aurier, Dyer, potentially.
What about
I don't
you?
think they're going to keep a clean sheet. Nah, not even a little bit. I think Son and Kane's fine. I don't need anyone else.
What about Reguilon?
How do we look at their defense as a whole? But I just, like, if this was a normal game week and I just had Grealish playing, I would be happy with that. Like, I wouldn't want a defender playing against Grealish.
That's actually a really good way to look at this, is to say to yourself, well, would I be looking to transfer in a Spurs defender if I only had one transfer? And if the answer is like not even in a million years, then probably
don't do it on your free hit just because you're fucking about.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so after Tottenham, who are we talking about? Let's go for Man United. Man United have both a single game week in Game Week 18 and a double Game Week 19. They play Burnley, which is decent, and then Liverpool-Fulham, which is literally opposite ends of the table. Everyone's got Bruno. Who's your other two picks if you would go for triples?
Well, I think you've got to consider Rashford now.
And, despite Ben having him forever.
Yeah, and I hate to admit it.
I know.
I really don't like it. But, they are... He certainly is a serious proposition. I don't know if you saw the news today, but he's been announced as the world's most expensive player.
What?
Yeah, based on an algorithm by it was in the BBC News, like a relatively reputable, I guess, sports research company. And he has been valued as the most valuable based on various metrics, like their performances, how long they've got left on their contract, their public profile, etc. He's been valued as the most valuable, with, I think, Haaland behind him.
Ever?
No, this year.
Oh, okay.
This year.
Okay, fair play.
Yeah, which is unbelievable, really.
I disagree. Like Sané, I prefer Sané over him, and he only went for 40 million. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a plethora of players that I'd probably choose to have in my, at St Johnstone above Rashford, but alas, I take Rashford. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if he wants to come to St Johnstone, I'm sure that entrance talks. But
So considering your free hit team, then you're bringing in you have you got a Rashford in there somewhere?
No, I don't actually. I've kept Bruno. I don't have Rashford because they're playing Burnley, who are really good defensively. I tell you who I do have in there from Man United.
Is it Wanny B?
It's not Wanny B. It's Harry M.
Belter.
Harry Maguire.
Mr. Maguire.
Who, since his exploits in Crete, and he had that terrible kind of phase immediately after that, but now
Magoo.
He's great again. And he's the same old mediocre centre back that he used to be, who will occasionally pop up at set pieces and score a goal or two. So I've got him in because I don't have much faith in Burnley's attack, and I think there's value in that Man United defence. I don't want to choose between Shaw and the other fullback whose name escapes me, but who's really cheap. So I'm avoiding that altogether. Yeah, Wan-Bissaka's great, but attacking output has been once again not as good as it probably should be from a player of his quality. So it leaves me with their centre-backs, Lindelof and Maguire. And I just think, even though Lindelof did score, is Lindelof injured actually at the moment? Regardless.
I think he's just back.
Okay, yeah. Regardless, though, Maguire's the one for me. How about
Fair
you,
play.
Dave?
I hate not having Rashford in my free hit team.
Do
I don't
you?
know if I would take him in my wild card.
Do people have him then?
I don't know if he's a big pick just because there's so many good players out there. I'm sure if Son and Kane are all of a sudden not available, then Rashford's going to be hot. But the fact that you've got Son, KDB, Sterling, Bruno, it's very difficult to then add Rashford in, right? Yeah. Aubameyang, don't start me. But I will tell you what my free hit team was with him. I don't think that Rashford is an option going forward, so I definitely wouldn't shout him out for a wild card. But for one game week where Salah's not available, I think he's probably the next best option in midfield. I have Fernandes, Son, Rashford, and De Bruyne. This comes from, again, what we talked about there with Man City not wanting two really expensive players because you're losing a lot of value if the game gets called off. So instead of having Mahrez in there or Sterling in there, I wanted Rashford. But it means that I've had to sacrifice elsewhere. I've only just managed to fit everyone that I wanted in. 3 Spurs, 3 attacking Man United players, 3 Man City players, etc. Just managed and no more. And Rashford's sitting there. It was really annoying, actually, because I thought I would have to go Pogba, who I don't think is a bad pick for a free hit. But it's definitely, for me, it's Fernandes and Rashford and Martial, and then everyone else.
Wow. Okay, interesting. Yeah. See, I'm not putting too much stock in their attack simply because, like I've said, they're playing Burnley. I see that as a defensive friendly fixture, but not at all an attacking one. We shall see. Yeah, it's interesting. It really passed me by that Rashford was even up for consideration. I know he's done okay recently, but I don't look at him and think he's a shoo-in for my side whatsoever.
No.
I think
I just
that would
looked
be
at everyone else and I'm like,
finest.
Who else have you got? Rodriguez, you've got any other Man United there? I've already said I've cancelled out Man City midfielders other than KDB. So I'm not going for Aubameyang. I can still get Saka as my 5th.
Yeah. I mean, if you've already ruled out Sterling and Mahrez, then I think fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Then he's the next guy, right? Because to be honest, City are better defensively than they are attacking wise recently, and I think that Man United haven't kept a clean sheet in a long time, and when they do, it's usually against big teams. I don't know what that is all about. I'm gonna check it live on the pod, lads. Last time they kept a clean sheet was against Chelsea, and then the time before that was Man City. And then the time before that, it was... oh, no, wait, they've only had 2. Oh, no, that's not true. They had Wolves 2 game weeks ago as well. So Wolves, Man City, and Chelsea. Mm-hmm. I was reading it backwards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, they don't really keep clean sheets, to be honest. No. And I don't really want to pick someone who doesn't. Whereas, Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, great picks, all of them. Yeah. Okay. So it's hard for that.
That's interesting. No, that's a good argument, yeah.
Let's just go to Man City. We've talked about them too much.
Man City. Well, you start with Man City this time, Dave. What are your thoughts?
I think if you're happy to take the risk with COVID, then go for whoever you want. Aguero, KDB, Mahrez if you want, or maybe a Sterling, KDB, Aguero assault team, a task force there against Brighton. You could absolutely do it, and that could pay dividends. The only problem is that if it doesn't play, then that is a lot of value that goes down the drain. So I think I want to diversify my assets a little bit. Maybe only spend 20 million max, 22 million max instead of 30-ish. I do really like the Aguero pick. I was kind of excited to put him in my squad. And, if Kane's not available, then I think I'm going to have to rethink. Because to be honest, I don't really like any other strikers. I like Kane.
Wilson.
I like... No, not fucking Wilson. I'd rather go 2 up top than have to play Wilson. I would rather get Brewster in. To be in that series, I'd rather have Saka as a 5th midfielder than play top.
No, that's fair.
So I don't really like any of the strikers. I think Martial was one, and so was Kane, and so was Aguero. And if I'm not going to have Aguero, I'm definitely going to have Kane. And if I'm not going to have Kane, then I still don't want to risk it on Man City, so I'll go Martial. So that leaves, a double defence. And you can pick any one of their defence. I don't really mind. Cancelo is probably a must for me on your free hit because of how attacking he's been recently. Although for a wild card, I don't know if I like Cancelo. I don't think he's going to play in a double game week, 2 games in a row.
He's been very consistent though recently.
I know. That's the problem, is that he's due a rest. And where's Kyle Walker been? Like, no wonder he's played so much. Kyle Walker's not playing. It just, for me, it screams like... parties. Yeah, no, I know. What is that all about, man? They're such fucking idiots.
They're just rich, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just spoiled brats. But yeah, Kyle Walker hasn't played in Game Week 15. He didn't play in Game Week 16. He didn't play in Game Week 17. So Cancelo's obviously their only other choice in that position. And this is the same thing we saw when everyone was picking Kyle Walker. You remember that little stint of Kyle Walker's price going up and everyone picking him? And it was because he was playing consistently. The only reason he was playing consistently was because Cancelo was having to play on the left for every game since Mendy and Zinchenko were injured. As soon as they came back, Cancelo was able to move to the right, and then Walker got his rest, and everyone was raging. So too is this happening. Kyle Walker's now out, so Cancelo plays every single game. As soon as Kyle Walker's back, I think Cancelo's going to take his rest.
But the moral of the story is that 9 times out of 10, Cancelo seems to be preferred by Guardiola over Kyle Walker.
Yes,
that's fair to say, right? I mean, if they're both fit and they're both
preferred
available,
over every single fullback they've got.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
He can play both places, and he plays better than everyone else.
Exactly.
Kyle Walker is a really good player.
He is great, and this is whenever Kyle Walker plays, because he scores goals as well. He scored this season, like good goals. I always watch him and I think, God, he's really like. If he was at any other team, he'd play every week and it'd be great. It'd be a great FPL asset. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you here. I think the triple Man City attack is tempting, but your words ring true, Dave, where you say that actually recently they've been a much better defensive outfit than they have been an attacking one. And I think putting all of your eggs in a slightly underwhelming basket is not a good idea.
A soggy bottom.
A soggy bottomed basket, exactly. I would much rather invest in their defence on the premise of a clean sheet, which I think against Brighton is more than feasible. You never know with clean sheets, but obviously what Man City defenders provide on top of their clean sheet potential is that attacking threat as well. And Cancelo and actually Ruben Dias, I believe, have that in abundance. KDB would be the attacker of choice for me. I think that's obvious. Raheem Sterling was in my first free hit draft, I'll be honest with you. Because I really like Sterling and kind of like an excuse to bring him in. But I think with the threat of COVID, you're absolutely right. Spending over 20 million on 2 Man City attackers is a dangerous game to play. So
it also just helps you nullify that thought process. Like how will I be able to afford these players? Because they are really expensive. KDB and Sterling, that's a lot of money. If you just nullify that in your brain, then you've got all this money to spend. Like, you don't need to worry about it. which I really like. I like making the decision making easier for myself. So if I say only one attacker for Man City, then the rest kind of falls in line a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I have to have Rashford in there. Okay, so that means that I can't have this and this and this, and it just you solidify your picks based on you cancelling out other options. It just works. It works a lot better for me anyway.
Totes.
Are you wanting, if you were to do a wild card and you were looking at Man City, would you take 3 of them?
No.
So who are you going for then? 2 wildcarders.
I'm going
KDB, I'm assuming.
I'm going for Ruben Dias, who I own at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he's been great for me. He's been my best defender by far. It's only a matter of time before he starts scoring goals. Mark my words.
He was so close last game.
He will score a couple of goals before.
Left post.
Yeah, he will score a couple of goals before the season ends. I'm sure of it. So Ruben Dias for sure. And I would probably, if I was playing my wild cards, would I go for KDB? I'm really not sure that I would.
Absolutely would. He's playing the easiest double ever. Let's remind ourselves.
Oh, for the double, yeah. Sorry,
you're wildcarding, right?
I thought you meant in peacetime, like if I just had a wild card and game weeks.
No. I mean, this is a wildcard strategy, right? So you're wildcarding for game week 18 and carrying them on.
With that double,
they're playing Crystal Palace and Aston Villa in game week 19.
Yeah.
They're playing Brighton game week 18, and then they go on for West Brom, Sheffield United, and Burnley.
Yeah.
Like, it's very difficult to not have them.
Yeah. I mean, a double Man City defence would be tempting with a fixture run like that. But again, I've already been burnt once by KDB this season when everyone was hyping him up and telling me to get him in because he's the best player in the Premier League, etc. And he had those 2 good games, and then as kind of drifted back into. I know he had a good game week last game week, but
it's going to be the thing. I've actually looked at that. The most transferred position for me is midfield by far, and every single time I do a transfer, it's not to set the fringes up; it's to change my captain, which will be getting rid of Salah and bringing KDB in, or bringing Bruno in, get rid of Salah. You know what I mean? I've been juggling those 3 forever. It's really annoying because I've missed a lot of stuff. Like, I missed out on that 7-0 win that Salah came off the bench and got man of the match and 3 bonus.
Same here. I
missed out KDB's last game when he did well, and it's because I keep trying to pick, like, I'm almost chasing points with these 3, annoyingly. I'm not chasing the points, but it just seems like that. But I'm actually going for, like, well, I'm not going to captain Salah. I think he's going to... I don't think he's going to start, so therefore, why the hell would I bring him in? I'll bring in KDB and I'll captain Bruno, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're not going to expect him to come off the bench and score 2 goals and get an assist.
That's the thing. They're all good decisions. If Salah's playing West Brom at home and you know that everyone's going to captain him, again, like you have to cover yourself, don't you? So as nice as it is in theory to stick to these decisions and to ride the storm of your premiums blanking and resisting the urge to transfer them, ultimately you have to cover your ass, Dave.
I think that's why I'm kind of excited to get rid of Son and Kane, because it means I'll have those 3 and I can just settle. I know a lot of players, a lot of managers have already settled on those 3, and it's obviously a good idea, and I should have maybe done it a while ago, but I was holding Kane and Son with all this value that I've got in them for this fucking blank, which they might not be playing now.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit unlucky. And also we didn't know about the doubles before, where, Man City weren't actually supposed to have a double game week, and now they do, and Manchester United, etc., etc. So yeah, in conclusion with Man City, I think 2 defenders, 1 attacker is the way to go for your free hit. And I'm with you. I think I would probably do the bare minimum 2 players, KDB, and going forward along with Diaz, and maybe add Cancelo or Stones if you want to. But there's so many good valued players like Dallas that you don't have to go for Cancelo, who's $1 million more.
Corbin Dallas.
Corbin Dallas.
Yeah.
Come on, my man. Who's next? We've done Man United. We've done Man City. We've done Tottenham. Let's go to Arsenal. The team of hope.
Yeah.
They've went from relegation to 3 points behind Chelsea. I don't know why that's a big fucking deal, by the way, because Chelsea are shite as well. We'll get to that.
It's because it's a big deal because the narrative surrounding Chelsea has been what a great season they're having, or at least it was until recently. The narrative around Arsenal was they're going to be in a relegation battle.
The worst.
It's remarkable how
ones went back and ones went forward.
Yeah.
And so now it's actually an achievement, and they're still using old narrative. It's fun. So what do you think about Arsenal then? The team full of cheap wonder kids.
Yeah, well, you've asked for 3 players here, and I think for me, the obvious ones that jump out are 1 forward, Lacazette, 1 midfielder, Saka, and 1 defender, Tierney. I think it's difficult to look past each of those in their respective positions. I do like Emil Smith-Rowe as a 4.5 option.
4.4 he is.
4.4 is he now? Okay.
I know, right?
Wow. Okay, so he's dead cheap. A great option.
He's cheaper than Anguissa.
If you're juggling with those. I mean, really though, that means you have to forego one of the others. The obvious one to forego there would be Saka. You know, if you're looking for that 5th midfielder, I think there'll be plenty that omit Saka and go for Smith-Rowe, simply to save that 1.1 million or however.
You've actually
much
hit the
Saka
nail
is.
on the head. That was my biggest difficulty, was picking between those two on my free hit, because one of them meant I could get Rashford in, like we talked about, and the other one meant I couldn't. But would you rather have Pogba and Saka or Rashford and Smith-Rowe?
Mate, those aren't your only options.
But what would you choose?
What about Mesut Ozil?
Oh, excellent. I think Smith-Rowe starts before Ozil. I think Ozil's away to Fenerbahce.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so Tierney then. Holding's obviously another option at 4.5 million if you need the cash. Would you rather go 1 City defender and Tierney, or would you get Stones or Cancelo over Tierney and then maybe get Holding instead to cover that for your free hit?
Yeah, it's a good question, because as obviously when we think of Tierney, we think of his attacking potential, which he demonstrated with aplomb last game week. If you look at the fixtures, if you look at the fixtures prior to that, however, Tierney has done very little in terms of attacking. So the question is, Arsenal, who looked like they could well keep a clean sheet against Crystal Palace, what we're effectively saying is, if the clean sheet is a given, and let's imagine that it is, do we have enough faith in Tierney that he's going to get an attacking return, that we're willing to pay that extra 1 million or however much more Tierney is? How much Tierney? 5.2 is he?
Tierney is 5.3 million.
Okay, so
5.4 million.
Okay, so 0.9. So that's 0.9. So basically a mil between Holding and him. Is that mil worth the potential for a Tierney assist or goal? In my opinion, the answer there is no.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
I think that Holding could be the one, because again, it's recency bias, isn't it? Had Tierney not got those returns last game week, would we be looking at him as a serious option? We might certainly be considering him and Arsenal's defence in general, but I think it would be much easier to make this decision. So let's look at the whole season and let's make our decision based on that. And everything points to the fact that Tierney was fortunate to get 2 attacking returns last game.
Yeah, and let's obviously just state for the record that any Arsenal players that we are picking here is probably not going to be for a wild card unless it is Holding or Smith-Rowe who's going to be on your bench for the doubles, because they've only got 1 game in Game Week 19. So if I'm taking Saka and Lacazette and all that, then it's probably only going to be for a free hit. And a wild card, I have kind of played with getting Holding and just putting him on my bench for the double, because I do think that a 4.5 million defender for a top 6 side who is on the up, who is, playing every game, is hard to find. And I would probably take the risk with him. Along too would be Smith-Rowe, who is 0.1 million cheaper than my Anguissa, who I never play anyway. So that's the only thing I would say with the wild card there.
Can we try to make Saka-Zet a thing?
Yeah, sure, mate. If you actually go for that duo, then I'll let you say it in the next pod.
Okay, thank you.
Right, moving on from Arsenal, let's go to Chelsea.
My tummy, mate, is going mad, by the way. When you're editing this pod, turn up the volume.
I don't need to turn it up. Last time you said it,
seconds.
I could hear it.
Oh, really?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
It's weird because it only happens after you eat, not before.
Yeah, I think it's because I need a shite. When you get when you just met a girl and you're trying to suppress your farts, and you spend an evening with them and you're like, oh, for God's sake, I just really need to do a poo. I really need to, and you can't, and your tummy makes those noises. That's what I've got right now.
Fair play. Well, I'm going to keep you here for an hour, so you might as well just shit yourself.
You mean an hour from now? Oh my god!
Yeah, an hour from now.
It's going to be carnage.
Part 2. James has relieved himself. Yeah, okay, let's move on then. Chelsea, are you considering them? They don't have a game week coming up. They have a blank. They don't play anyone game week 18, but game week 19 they play Fulham and Leicester.
It's very easy not to consider Chelsea at the moment because of how poor they've been recently. Lampard's in trouble now, apparently, which I think is preposterous, but it is Chelsea. And, you know, they are a team in decline. So am I considering them? It's likely that I will still want Chilwell. If I was wildcarding, Chilwell would probably be an option for me.
And you just stick him on your bench, 5.7 million or whatever. No, he's probably 6 million by now. I haven't even been keeping up. Because he'll have to go on your bench if you're wildcarding, right? 6.1, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I could play him in my starting 11 and he just automatically gets subbed out, which is always fun. But yes, yeah, for this he would. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that of all of their prospects at the moment, you know, we look at their attacking, I mean, a great attacking force. None of them really firing at the moment. Timo Werner's been really off colour. I feel sorry for Ben Dinnery. He's owned him for a while. And I mean, Timo Werner's XG must be skyrocketing, but he is just not converting. And I think it's got to the point where Lampard's gone from. You can tell at one point they've had a conversation where he said, you keep getting these chances, that's what I want to see. Soon you'll start scoring the goals. I can imagine Lampard having that conversation and being like, I believe in you, you're going to play every week and you're going to start scoring. But now he's gone past that. Now he's like, this is ridiculous now.
Like, what the fuck of it? How much were you again?
Exactly. I want Giroud, I want Abraham, get out of my life. So it's hard to pick who's going to play week in, week out up front. Pulisic, Ziyech, all of them are great, but none of them really I'd want to be investing in at the moment. Chilwell for me, most promising prospect. Zuma, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want any of them. And I don't think I would want any of them in wildcard, because if I'm going for a wildcard, then I'm going for 2 City guys in the back. And if I really want Chilwell, I can just downgrade any of them. I can upgrade any of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not too bothered. And obviously, where I am overall rank wise around the 200k mark, I don't really want to be jumping on Werner earlier than everyone else. I could simply just ride that train, and if it happens, it happens, and I can figure out then. I don't really want to be championing, Ziyech or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And we know, I think it is with Chelsea, it's a bit like when Man City weren't playing that well, and you kind of knew that eventually they would turn it around. And so you had to keep an eye on them, and you had to bear in mind that at some point in the season you were probably going to bring them in. And I kind of feel the same about Chelsea. I think there's a lot of value in that midfield if they can start playing. We think of Pulisic and Ziyech and even Mason Mount, who strung together a few good games a couple of game weeks ago. There is potential there. And so I think for me, it's one of those teams where when they do start playing well again, which it feels to me more of a when than an if, it is going to be something you're going to have to consider. But for now, no. We always have to go where the other managers are going at this stage in the season, and no one's going to Chelsea.
No. If you were going to punt on them, I think you've mentioned the best punt, which would be Mount, who's not very high owned, but probably will play the majority of the games, both of them, and has been doing okay despite Chelsea's poor run of form.
Lampard loves him.
Other than that, Lampard loves him because he sees himself in him or whatever. So that's Man City, Man United, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea. Liverpool is last, but obviously not least. They, like Chelsea, don't have a game in Game Week 18. They've got Game Week 19 coming up. A double for Liverpool sees them play against Man United and Burnley.
Yeah, okay fixtures, although I've already sung Burnley's praises when it comes to Man United playing them, so I'm not going to be too generous towards Liverpool's prospects of doing too well against Burnley. But listen, Liverpool have been frustrating for me as a sporadic Salah owner. I feel like I've always caught Salah at his worst.
I know.
And they are, whilst they've blown teams away, we saw them beat Crystal Palace 7-0. It's you only have to look at that West Brom game on was it Boxing Day or the day after? at 1-1.
Yeah.
Sadio Mane scored the goal. I mean, it was funny actually because we did a stream, didn't we? The Fantasy Weekly did a stream where someone in a chat asked whether it was time to start considering Mane and whether, if you're going to pick Salah or Mane, which one do you go for? And we almost laughed at the prospect that you might go for Salah. That you might go for Mane, because at that point Mane hadn't really done much. But actually, in the last few weeks, he's shown the player that he can be. He's starting to. I mean, he's always had the underlying stats this season, and he's just started. They're starting to bear their fruits. So
it's just a symptom of this year, hasn't it? In previous seasons past, we have been able to rely on Liverpool or City or whoever to kind of be consistent enough. But I feel like Liverpool playing a 7-0 game out against Crystal Palace, then to go on and Salah blank 3 times in a row is such a this season thing. And it's annoying because I never use that, because I hate when people, that's just indicative of my season or whatever. But honestly, like, the inconsistency that we've seen at the top is mind-boggling. Arsenal going from relegation up, but the fact they were in relegation to begin with is mental. Man City being better defensive than they are going forwards, ridiculous. Liverpool, Salah blanking for the first time like this in ages, and only scoring 2 goals or something in 3 games is mental. There's so many instances where the big guys aren't playing as well as we'd think, and it's fucking with my mind, James.
I mean, I don't want to be that guy, Dave. I don't.
Yes, you do.
I do a little bit. Yeah,
you do.
When I didn't own Salah and everyone else did, do you remember what happened when he got that really fluky penalty that he scuffed?
And you got drunk and annoyed.
I got drunk and annoyed. There was that big ricochet that ended up spiraling into the back of the net. I think it was against Spurs. The point was that it looked like he was getting very, very lucky. But obviously, when you look at his stats, you just say, Salah scored 3 goals in his last 3 games. I bought him back in somewhat reluctantly because of the ownership issues, and the fact that everyone was going to captain him. Since bringing him back in, he's done nothing for me. I'm still happy to own him because Salah's one of those players that, he will punish you for getting rid of him. I learned that the hard way, and it's almost like this isn't consistent with proper logic. But if he's blanked 3 times, you feel as though he's overdue a good haul. Yeah, that's just that's pure superstition, nothing more. But Liverpool haven't had any penalties in that time. It's been a very unlikely run. He actually had a very good game in terms of the chances that he had as well. In his last match against Newcastle, there were plenty of opportunities for him to score, which didn't go his way. I feel like he's shown enough now. He actually looked better, I thought, in the last game than he did in some of the games he scored in when I didn't own him.
Are you talking about Newcastle or Southampton?
Oh, sorry, Southampton. He played Southampton, didn't he? Yeah.
Fair play. I agree to a certain extent. I think the fact that we're only talking about Salah in a full team of Liverpool players, where we could be going for TA, Mane, Salah, Robbo, like, it screams a lot of kind of what we've been talking about, in that the consistency is so bad that, if they haven't been playing well in the last couple of games, then do I want to even consider them for the double? If you were to wildcard, would you be tempted to get Robbo in over the likes of Cancelo?
No.
You obviously can't afford them all, and they're so much more expensive.
Yeah. And, priced for good reason. I can see why originally they would be priced at that. And Robbo's been good, but no, there's nothing about... I actually think Man City look by far the more robust team defensively.
Yeah.
So there's that. Plus, attacking wise, Robbo's always going to be a threat. Trent's always going to be a threat. But have they been delivering attacking returns consistently enough to fork out that extra? Not for me.
What we're saying basically is that we're shite bags, and we're going to both get Salah for the double, but only because everyone's going to own them, and not because we think that he's a good pick.
Yeah, and this is why we've got our wager that Bamford is going to be the most captained player.
Is that still going? I figured you'd call that off after we learned that Man City had a double.
Yeah, I didn't factor that in, actually. It's going to be KDB,
I was going to let you away
it?
with that. But, I mean, if you want to continue that, KDB is going to be the biggest captain.
I think I might captain Bamford.
Yes, the bet is still on.
No. We can have a new bet where I think Bamford will score more points than KDB.
I will still take that bet.
All right, you're on. New bet. I think you're right. I think KDB will be the most captained, and now that Man City have a double, but I think it will be the wrong decision for people.
Oh, Bamford really
is a great player.
Going to be your captain. That's crazy.
Great player, mate.
I mean, he's doing well. I don't doubt it, not one bit. I actually thought that I had got on the train rather late at 6.2 million. He's now 6.6 million. He's the current highest price rise from 5.5. Yeah, he's a great player. I wish all the owners all the best. I mean, to be honest, though, it's annoying that he's now 44% owned because I preferred the green arrows, but now it's just a stable. But yeah, anyway. So we're not considered anyone else from Liverpool?
No, I don't think so. Not for the price points.
Well, we've been going for an hour, James. Do you want to reveal your free hit draft before we go?
I don't actually have it.
If you want.
I don't actually have it in front of me. I'm afraid I deleted it, so I haven't.
You deleted it?
Yeah. I didn't press confirm. I just wanted to see what I could get, and then I
screenshot that shit.
No,
you should see
no.
my fucking album right now. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So many, just like even one player different. I'll give you my free hit team. The wildcard team, I don't think I can really go forward and tell you that simply because of how much is probably going to change between now and deadline if I was to wildcard. But the free hit is fairly certain. And if I'm not allowed to have Spurs player, then just swap Kane out for Aguero and swap Son out for, I don't know, someone else. Aubameyang, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so my free hit team is Darlow in goals for Newcastle versus Sheffield United. Cancelo and Stones, like we talked about, the two City defenders. I've got Holding in there as well, so that'll be 3 at the back. Then my midfield of 5 is Bruno Fernandes, Son, Rashford, De Bruyne, and Smith Rowe.
Okay.
Instead of Saka. And then up top is Martial and Kane.
Nice. So no Lacazette.
No Lacazette. And I can actually afford that and I have a team value of 104 million. So it's an expensive team and I kind of wanted to get the most out of it.
I hate it.
You hate it?
Yeah.
Why?
Tell you what I really hate about it. I don't mind
good.
it. I like Darlow in goal. I had him in goal for mine. I really am baffled that you've gone for 3 Man United attackers.
Actually isn't that many attacking assets once you take City out of it.
Well,
like give me a good striker other than
Lacazette.
Kane. Well, I don't think he's actually a good pick. He's playing against Crystal Palace. I would say Crystal Palace's defense is
the same Crystal Palace that shipped 7 goals.
7-0. Yeah, you're right. But is that indicative of them? I feel like we said the same thing for a while against Southampton. They never went back to that.
Not necessarily. That's true. I agree with that. But Crystal Palace, it's not like they've been a defensive bastion for most of the season, but had a blip.
Well, they only conceded 1 goal against Liverpool after that. And then the game after that, they kept a clean sheet against Sheffield United, which is not a big deal, to be honest.
I mean, they lost 3-0 against 10-man Aston Villa.
Aston Villa is better than Liverpool. Quote me.
They did beat them 7-2, I suppose.
So yeah, I don't know. I think everyone's conceding against Aston Villa. You're right though. Burnley probably is a better defensive outfit than Crystal Palace.
Burnley are the best defensive outfit in the league almost in terms of underlying stats. So that's
so you
what you
would go
need to
Lacazette
consider.
over Martial. Okay, fine.
Oh.
If Kane's not available, then I could go Lacazette there instead.
I
really don't like any of the 6.5 million options in the striker position.
I hear you. You've got Callum Wilson.
I'm not getting Wilson. Like I'm just not going to do it ever. I don't like Newcastle. I'm sad that I brought him in.
Embrace Wilson.
I'm happy that I brought him out.
Embrace. Where's Serge Aurier in your side?
I could take Serge Aurier over Stones if I really wanted to.
I mean, I don't want to be biased, but you should definitely do that. This team needs a lot of work.
I think Tottenham are going to concede against Aston Villa. When was the last time Aston Villa didn't score a goal? Do you know?
They didn't score in Hang on.
It was against Burnley.
There you go.
Against Burnley, game week 13.
Game week 13, Burnley.
But they honestly, I think that's the only time that they haven't scored in ages. Oh, they didn't score against Leeds, I think, in game week 6. But apart from that, yeah, they score every game. Mental consistency. We got anything else to say? Any last words? I think we're just gone over an hour, a bit longer than we usually do.
Yeah. My last words are: if we don't finish this podcast soon, I might genuinely shit myself on there.
All right, listeners, thank you very much for sticking through that. I hope that this has been a little bit better in terms of tips and not just your usual look at what we're doing with our teams. We felt like going a bit more subjective in recent weeks, but we're back with the hilarity that is us trying to give you advice. Enjoy your blank and doubles if we don't see you in between. And James, enjoy your shit.
Thank you very much, Dave. Enjoy your inevitable shit next time you have one.
Thanks. Every morning at 11 o'clock.
I'll think of you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.